He always woke up early, not because he had somewhere to go, but because his mind began working before his body even moved. Ideas, tasks, dreams, goals, everything arrived at once, like a storm he had learned to quietly survive. On the small wooden table beside his bed lay a notebook filled with outlines, sketches, timelines, maps, and strategies. Every page looked impressive, every line felt important, but none of them had ever escaped the paper they were written on. He believed that if he refined his plans just a little more, things would finally begin. If he added just one more detail, one more step, one more analysis, then his life would open like a locked gate. So he lived inside a loop, thinking deeply, preparing carefully, organizing beautifully, imagining bravely, yet never crossing the line between preparation and reality. The world outside his window changed with seasons. People aged, opportunities rose and disappeared, but his world remained still, controlled, almost frozen. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't careless. He simply felt safer in the world he created than the world he would have to face. One morning, he sat near the window, holding a cup of tea that had gone cold without him noticing. He watched a man across the street load heavy boxes into a truck. The man moved with a tired rhythm, but he moved. He wasn't waiting to feel ready. He wasn't trying to calculate the perfect approach. He simply acted. Something inside him trembled watching that. He whispered, "Why is it so easy for everyone else to begin?" The question bothered him for the rest of the morning. It followed him to the kitchen. It stayed with him while he washed dishes. It echoed in his mind as he sat back at the table and opened his notebook to another half-finished page. He tried to focus on improving the plan he wrote last night, but the question kept pushing against him, refusing to sit quietly in the corner. What if planning wasn't his strength? What if it had become his hiding place? He leaned back and stared at the ceiling, feeling a weight he couldn't ignore anymore. He remembered all the times he told himself he would start next week, next month, or after things settle. Each delay had felt innocent, reasonable, practical. But now those delays formed a long chain stretching behind him. Years of postponed action disguised as preparation. That afternoon, he stepped out of the house and walked aimlessly through the neighborhood. The sun was warm, the air held a hint of dust and distant cooking from street vendors. Children chased each other along the pavement, laughing without concern. Every sound, every movement reminded him of something he lacked: motion. He stopped near a small shop selling used books. A worn-out paperback in the front caught his attention. On the cover was a mountain climber hanging from a rope, mid-air, uncertain yet determined. He picked up the book and flipped through the first few pages. A sentence struck him sharply. Every dream lives in the moment after fear, not before it. He read it twice. He read it 3 times. That line felt like it was written for him alone. He placed the book back, but carried the sentence with him. Throughout the walk home, the words kept bouncing in his mind, revealing the truth he had avoided. He wasn't addicted to planning. He was afraid of doing. He feared imperfection. He feared judgment. He feared the possibility that he might attempt something and still fail. And so he lived inside flawless plans, because perfect plans can't be criticized. Only actions can. Back home, he sat again at the table. Instead of writing, he stared at the blank space in front of him. His hand hovered above the notebook before he slowly closed it. Something inside shifted. Something small but meaningful. For the first time, he wasn't satisfied with planning. For the first time, he saw it as the very thing holding him back. Night came quietly. The silence felt different now, heavier, but also clearer. He thought of all the years he'd wasted being a spectator in his own life. He thought of the countless chances he never took because he convinced himself he needed more time, more training, more certainty. He realized he had always waited for the perfect moment. But perfect moments never arrive. Only real ones do. The next morning began unlike any other. He woke before the alarm, not because his mind was racing, but because for once he felt something unusual: resolve. He didn't rush to his notebook. He didn't open his planner. He didn't spend 30 minutes arranging his thoughts. He simply stood up, stretched his arms, and walked to the kitchen. There was a stillness inside him he had never experienced. Not the stillness of delay, but the stillness that comes before a leap. He decided that he would do one real thing today. Not a big thing, not a complicated thing, just something. Something that existed outside the walls of planning. Something that could not be erased or rewritten. He opened his laptop and stared at a blank document. The blinking cursor felt like a challenge. He closed his eyes, took a slow breath, and began typing the first real sentence toward the project he had postponed for 7 years. The words came clumsy at first, messy, uneven. Nothing like the polished outline he created months ago, but there was life in them. Something raw, something honest. He typed for 20 minutes without stopping, and when he finished, he leaned back with a surprising sense of relief. The result wasn't perfect, but it was real, and real was better than perfect. The next day, he took another step, and the day after that, another. His actions were small, inconsistent, sometimes awkward, but they were actions. He began learning that progress doesn't reward beautiful plans. It rewards effort. It rewards risk. It rewards motion. Slowly, his identity began to change. Not because he planned differently, but because he acted differently. Weeks passed, and the stack of real work beside his desk grew taller than the notebook filled with plans. For the first time, he felt proud, not of what he planned to do, but of what he had actually done. He discovered something profound. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence is built by action. Momentum is built by action. Transformation is built by action. One evening, as he reviewed everything he created, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: gratitude. Gratitude not for perfection, but for movement. He finally understood that life doesn't wait for the prepared. It rewards the brave, the willing, the ones who begin even when their hands shake. Months later, someone asked him, "What changed you? How did you go from thinking endlessly to doing consistently?" He smiled softly and replied, "I stopped waiting to be ready." He continued, "I realized planning was my comfort zone, but nothing meaningful grows inside comfort. I realized that no amount of thinking will ever replace the power of doing. And I realized something else too. Your life starts the moment you start, not the moment you plan." He paused, then finished with the lesson that carried him through every moment since. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a first step. If this story touched you, even a little, then promise yourself something today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Do one real thing, one tiny step, one small action. Because your future won't change when you make better plans. Your future changes the moment you begin. Like, share, and subscribe if you're ready to move from planning to living.